being resolved. The African Union has pledged support to the ECOWAS community of West African states. That's ECOWAS. The union's chairman, Musa Faki Mohammed, said he stands behind the ECOWAS response to the coup in Niger. This came after the military junta threatened to kill ousted President Mohamed Bazoum should there be any military intervention from ECOWAS. I'll start with you, Adekunle Yusuf. Well, the threat to kill the ousted, the deposed President Mohamed Bazoum, and the military junta seems not to be ready to back down.
I'm not in support of killing a former or sitting or ousted or suspended president. There's no basis. Even if he has committed any crime, he passed through the courts. So, but we know military coup. There's nothing like that is off the table. Absolutely. And that is why we always describe military rule as an aberration. It's not something any society should have. Unfortunately, here in West Africa, it's on the ascendancy, and that's very sad. Now, you know, when you look at the whole thing from all sides so far, you know, have we done the right thing? You know, so several actors, several, you know, stakeholders, several interests and all that. And you'll be wondering, is it not this Niger Republic? Is it not this Niger Republic? But that is life for you. So something you think is not important because of certain issues. He just gives.
When you say, is this not the Niger Republic? It's pregnant. Can you give birth to that thought?
No, the Niger Republic is like part of Nigeria. Of course, it's a separate country. It has never been a problem for Nigeria. It has never. If you go back to our history, it has always been a strategic country to the interest of Nigeria. And all of a sudden, they've helped out on several occasions. You know, we have been of good use to them too, as a country. But all of a sudden, we now seem like two brothers fighting. And whereas it's not Nigeria and Niger, it's supposed to be, you know, ECOWAS and Niger, but look at, you know, framings, you know, sometimes they do a lot to color, you know, the narratives, and that is part of what is happening. So I think it will be a forward thing for the Niger authorities to kill the man because there is no need for that. That will solve no problem. I believe that will solve no problem. In all of this dialogue engagement, the ECOWAS too failed, you know, by talking, no. This is a crisis. It's the internal crisis. We can solve it through dialogue, not always flaunting, you know, use of force, then later. It is not the first time coup has happened in Nigeria, in Niger, in other places in Africa. And how have we handled some of these things?
Right.
So the best way, diplomatic dialogue. It can be handled, right. You know.
BK, I'm not sure whether you agree with Adekunle Yusuf, you know, because the regional bloc said that all efforts to dialogue with Niger junta have been rejected by the coup leaders themselves. What do you make of this, and do you think the junta is deliberately closing all available windows for, you know, for conversations, dialogue?
You see, what particularly makes ECOWAS leaders angry is the disrespect that the junta's leaders have demonstrated to ECOWAS leaders. Yes, you have deposed a president who won 56% of the votes in this country. But they are saying members of his family, members of the administration that he led, treat them with respect. Don't just lock everybody up the way you've done. Some people who had nothing to do with the way the government was run, you just locked everybody up. And they are saying, no. Release his family members. Don't. Why would you lock up his family members and they are not even ready when a government wants to agree to dialogue, you see some concessions being made. We are not seeing any concession at all. Yes, they are allowed, even people who wanted to come into dialogue on this matter, they will tell them that, look, that they cannot guarantee their safety. That's one way of telling them to stay away. But the leader of the Tijaniya sect, Sanusi
Khalifa,
was allowed to come in and had a discussion with them. These guys have made up their minds. The truth is, they made up their minds that, look, if Mali have a military ruler, if Guinea can have it, if Burkina Faso can have it, why not Niger? If even Sudan, no, why not Niger? So they...
Or in ECOWAS.
Yes. You know, it's only CAR that is outside the ECOWAS that has been left by military rule since 2020. Between 2020 and now, we've had seven military coups. Even the man in charge who was killed, his son took over and promised a swift transition to civilian rule. The boy is not talking about civilian rule anymore.
You mean in Chad?
Chad, yes. He promised a swift transition. This is the promise they will make. But later on, you see them, they want to transmute.
And you see the sweetness of power.
And ECOWAS feels cheated in all of this because the steps that they have taken against this man now, they didn't take those steps against Mali and the rest of them. Because they will come, they will promise that don't worry, there will be, yes, they will be condemned, their sentence will be rejected, but they will make promises to you that we are going to hand over to civilian very soon. We'll put this thing, we'll put a transition in place. And what we just see is that after a while, they will not talk about it anymore. It happened in our country, so Yakubu Gowon, until Muritala and others
Kicked him.
Got tired. Even his own gas brigade commander, Joe Garba, was the one who announced the coup. But Gowon has spent 9 years and was vacillating over the transition program. People were like, what's going on? So it took another military regime to take power from him. Now, talking about the threats to kill, I cannot say that these guys cannot do it because we've seen presidents kill in Africa. But the world has changed.
Yes.
There's nowhere that they can run to. This new leader.
Especially with the U.S., also throwing his weight behind.
Even without the U.S., the ICJ is there. The ICJ is there.
We see what is happening, in the aftermath of Rwanda genocide.
Yes, they will put you on trial. Pinochet, Augusto Pinochet, was president in Chile. He first came in. He came in as a military ruler in 1973. After some years, he transmuted into civilian. Maybe they were even the people who taught our Africans how to do it. He transmuted into civilian rule by just a declaration in 1981. That's somebody who came in 1973. Now, he killed more than 3,000 people. He locked up about 28,000 people, executed about 3,000 people. He's one of the worst and most wicked rulers in history. But he was 93 or so when they eventually put him on trial. They put him on trial, I think, in 1998. And at that time, the judges at the ICJ put aside the matter of jurisdiction. So they came up with what you call universal jurisdiction. Universal jurisdiction means that wherever you commit the offense, they can sit, yes, they can sit there in Europe and put you on trial. So they put Pinochet on trial. Unfortunately, he died before. I mean, they locked him up. Unfortunately, he died before he was even convicted. But that's to send a message that there's nowhere. He was detained as an old man. He was detained for over a year because they arrested him in London. There's no, you can't go anywhere. These brigands in Niger, you know, he was Commander Gas Brigade because the president wanted to remove him after 12 years. That's why he got angry and decided to chase the president away. And you know, the president belongs to minority tribe. The country is divided. When people, yes, when people say, oh, people are happy. I've asked that in Nigeria, you can get people to gather and jubilate and pledge support for you now. They can do it. You see people do it here. It doesn't mean that the coup is popular. No. Nobody won 56% of the vote. You just sent him packing like that. I think that ECOWAS will not resort to war, but they will try their best to strangulate these people using sanctions. It is a country heavily dependent on others. This is landlocked. I believe that even Nigeria, and we did that in the past, we should have been able to exercise some control over Nigeria. I still believe that it will not get to war. But if they kill this man, there's nowhere, they need to be told, because they are behaving like illiterates, there's nowhere they can run to. Interpol, they will get them, they will arrest them, and they will be put on trial. They should, the president of Cote d'Ivoire, did they not put him on trial? Right. There's nowhere, the world has changed. That's right.
Well, Adekunle, the sanctions, you know, several sanctions have actually, you know, been thrown at Niger. But for instance, you know, looking at the implications, do you feel the border sanctions, you know, for instance, would not only affect Niger, you know, but also Nigerian communities? Because it looks like the poorest of the poor will be the one to feel this.
The border sanctions affect Nigeria more than it does affect, you know, Niger. There's no doubt about that. You know, when you travel, you know, they're not, you know, Niger borders, Sokoto, you know, Tamfara, all these places. And I've been there many times. They don't see people in Niger and people in Sokoto, for example, as different people. They see themselves as like one family.
Yeah, they're contiguous. And
I've attended many programs. The state government here in Sokoto, we invite his brother to go. It will be even a official comment. Yeah, so they do things and they walk in and out freely. Our economy is bigger than their own, but
they are like an appendage.
Yes.
No, I told you that when I was in Bono,
in Otumandam,
we were bringing our naira to come and change. Because that's currency they use.
For example, if you enter Madam Fodio University Teaching Hospital now, you won't believe it that the bulk of the patients there are even from Niger that patronize that big, massive hospital. There are many other things now. So we are like woven together. Any sanctions we want to do, we need to make use of our brain. We need to think deep. That we want to hurt these people, are we not hurting ourselves anymore? You understand my point? What has happened is unfortunate.
We are personalized this like, as if it's just Nigeria and
because the leadership of ECOWAS is Nigeria.
Well, it's a resolution. And I think
it's not a
you also said it.
I know.
You said something about framing. You know, the media seems to have been framing that it is President Tinubu taking this decision.
That is understandable.
ECOWAS decision.
Even the president's spokesman, Ngilali, had to do even a press conference about this. To say, no, it's not about President Tinubu and Niger. It's not Nigeria. There is ECOWAS.
Even AU now.
You understand me? Because you need to manage public perception. The way people say things. And it all comes from the skills of framing and all that. If the people are seeing a different picture, you need to, do the proper narrative so that people understand. It is not President Tinubu versus the coupist in Niger. No, it is not.
It is ECOWAS decision.
It is ECOWAS decision. It is not Nigeria versus. But in every decision we must take, we must ask, do we have a dog in this fight? Because ECOWAS is a body, but we are directly, by the name of these people.
Absolutely. But BK, some hold that since the junta forcefully took over power, there should be no room for dialogue. It should be force over force. Force should also be used to deploy to remove them.
Oh, no, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. So let's give it a chance. After all, the Ajame didn't want to leave power. It was a combination of threat of force and dialogue. Eventually led to his hurried departure, the private jet provided by Nigeria, and the real winner of the election assumed office. I was very impressed with the role that we played in making democracy in Gambia. And I believe that it's possible. As we speak, ECOWAS troops are still in Gambia, providing some support for the government. In fact, this man who just took over in Niger served in Gambia.
He was even leader of the...
He served in Gambia. So sometimes we just ask what's going on. But of course, because they wanted to remove him, after 12 years as a gas brigade commander, he still didn't want to leave. That's why he took power. So for me, let's still give dialogue a chance. Sometimes people make all kinds of threats. If you look at some of the threats that Saddam made during the first Gulf War, you won't believe that he will then be begging when they caught him inside the sewage pit where he was hiding. You won't believe that he will be begging them that they should let him talk to Bush. He said it will be mother of all wars. Our blood will flow, the sweet American blood. At the end of the day, America didn't go to that war alone. America got even neighbors of Iraq involved. Syria was there, Kuwait. The only thing the Arab world said was, don't bring Israel in. Israel's matter is an emotive matter in the Middle East. Don't bring Israel in. We will join this war, but if Israel steps in, then we will withdraw.
Right.
And that was why when Israel was being bombed, Saddam was deliberately sending Scud missiles into Israel to provoke Israel to get involved in the war. America supplied them with Patriot missiles and put 3 diplomats to give Israel close marking. Please, if you enter this war, the war is finished. Our Arab friends withdraw, and we need them. Because at that time, Syria was very strong. Syria provided up to 50,000 troops. So at that time, nobody saw it. Even France, that usually does not want to get involved with any war that America is fighting. France contributed no less than 11,000 troops. The only thing they didn't agree to was to put them under control of American forces. So I believe that diplomacy can still carry the day. And I will implore, just as the president said that they are going to prioritize dialogue, let them continue to prioritize dialogue.
And see what comes.
It's unfortunate, these people. I know a governor here whose grandparents are from Niger. Yes. The governor. One of these ancestors, one of these Northwest governors. Are from there. Some of them have business.
It's
so
more
they
like...
will not be happy to see war.
Yeah.
And they too are not sitting idly by. They are talking to Council of Ulamas and other people to prevail. The president, don't go to war, this and that. They have businesses over there and they don't, they know what it means.
Right, very quickly, I want you, because we have just, we need to move to the very last issue. Nigerian Defense Headquarters, also shunned calls for coup in Nigeria. So we've heard about the Arab Spring, you know, in the early 2010s rather. Are we also looking at the Sahelian Spring and, you know, vis-a-vis Nigerians saying that there should also be coup in Nigeria?
No, we've gone beyond that level in Nigeria. People should stop. You can say whatever you want to say, but in Nigeria, we have gone beyond the era of coups. Coups for what? No, you see, when we were applauding coupists, you know, we were welcoming them, like, forget what is happening. They welcome this man in Niger. It's not about that. And we did so in Nigeria in the past. But now, our eyes are wide open. We're no longer like Nigeria of 20, 30, 40 years ago. Nigerians are far more educated now, more enlightened, more exposed. Who will lead the coup? What would you tell us? Fellow Nigerians, we tell you to go back to your barracks because that's not the job we gave you. That uniform on your, on your neck is for a different thing, not to come and go. We've seen it all. Countries that have not tasted the worst part of military rule, we think that they can come, correct certain, or perceived errors and this and that. The military came to Nigeria and made a bad situation worse. In fact, the underdevelopment, the destruction of Nigeria the foundation was laid by the Nigerian military rulers. So who will come here and say military rule? We all will march and say no.
These boys, these little boys and girls on social media asking for military rule, they didn't witness it.
They didn't know what was military rule.
They were little boys.
They did.
Or they were not even born during military era.
So maybe
even as journalists, we lost some of our friends to military rule. Bagada Kalto was confident. He was killed. And there are others too. Some they did not kill them, but they detained them unnecessarily. They came out of prison, they became something else.
They can rant on social media and no problem.
They lost their lives. So these ones don't even know what military rule is. What are they talking
Let them rant on social media about military, but it's not in Nigeria. Nigeria has gone beyond that era. Nobody can do it again. You can't succeed. Not even 24 hours. We welcome you.
Absolutely.